Ois Dalad. V'zehu inyan Achashverosh. So this is the idea, Achashverosh. The word Achashverosh is going to say now also represents this concept. The idea of this dilug we were talking about, this jump, in order to come down from the higher level into Golus, you need a jump like the Ofer Hayolim, like he said before, like the deer that jumps over. So that's also in the word Achashverosh. The word Achash means quickly, hastily, as he's going to see. And then he's going to give two taichin in the word Veirosh. And together, it's going to bring down the Achish, jump into Rosh, into the level of Por, into the level of Golus, into the level of Yidden in their situation. It's explained above, the Pirush, Doime Doidi Litzvi. So he slapshus, over there explains he slapshus as China, the Golus, Bavel Modai, that the Shechina to dress up in the exile of Bavel Modai, the four different exiles that the Yidden have gone through, Bahasorim, Bo Derech Yerida, Bebchinas Dilu Godel, that comes in a descent, a jump. It is a big descent. Shaloi Bahadroge, not in a step by step. It comes with Mehiras Atzuma. It comes with a very strong haste, very powerful, quick, commercial Hatzvi, like the example of the deer, Shemedalik Chulu Shaloi Bahadroge Klal, who jumps not in a step-by-step way at all. Zehu pirush achash of the word achashverosh. The word achash is loshen mehiris. Achash means quickly. Kamoi, like we say, meheira chusha al tamid, quickly. Make it quick, don't wait. In Shmuel Aleph, Simen Chov, Pasik, Perik Chov, Pasik Lamed Zayin. He's bringing a few psukim with the word chusha means quick. Or in the Tehillim Chabei it says, Le'azrosi chusha, quickly come to my help. Or it goes chish vanaufa. Also chish means quickly. In Tehillim Perik Tzadik Pasuk Yud. Why is this Achashverosh quickly? What is this? V'hainu ki golu le'elam shchina imohem u'kameshikosu v'samti kisi be'elam. When the Yidden exiled to Elam, Elam, this is, as he said before, is actually Shushan. B'Shushan Elam, he quotes from the Pasuk. So when the Yidden were in Elam, the Shechina is with them. The Shechina comes down all the way to Elam. The Pasuk says, V'samti kisi be'elam. I will place my throne in Elam, which means that there is Golus in Elam, there is still the kisi of Hashem. That's why it says in a lotion of quickly achash, in a way the hainu inyan achash. This is the idea of achash, quickly. Lovei b'bchinas dilug, to come in a way of a jump. Umehirus gedoylo. So that's chulu. That's to bring down samti kisim. That's milmailo lamata. But we also have the return, as we learned earlier. We have the Hori B'Samim, you have the Hori Basar, and you have the Hori B'Samim. Okamekain, Le'inya B'chinas Halos Hanitzutzin, Mina Golus, also with regards to bringing up the sparks from the Golus, Gamkim B'chinas B'chinas Gedoyle, it's also in a great haste. Ukinis Kalil B'Pirush, Zoch Achishan, as earlier mentioned, that in the word when they married Achishana, the idea is that through the Zuchus they go up quickly. Also, the quick ways in the future, all showing you on this special elevation in a quick way, in a very high way, in a non-step-by-step way, both going down and going up. So that's Achash. What is the meaning of Rosh, Varosh, Achash, Verosh. The Rosh, Upirush Verosh, is Loshon Merirus. Rosh is a language of bitterness. Kimoi, we say, Anavemoi in Verosh, in Parshas Hazin Lamed Beis. So what does it mean in Verosh? Pirush Rashi Esav Mor. Rashi says it's a bitter herb. So Rosh is bitter. V'chein shoydish poire Rosh v'lano v'parshin Nitzavim Pirush Rashi. Or the Rashi was what is the meaning of poire Rosh? Shoydish megadol Esav Mar. It's a root that grows a bitter herb, a bitter grass. So Rosh is bitter. So what is the meaning over here? Rosh v'hainu merirus hashibut. That is the bitterness of the enslavement. That's the Rosh. V'nemar, but the pasuk says, "Imoy anoichi b'tzora." Hashem says, "I am with him in his trouble." So the Achash is in the Rosh. The Eibishter jumps into our troubles where we are in the Rosh. In Cain, nislabesh b'bchinas Achash, b'bchinas Varosh. So from the level of Achash comes down to the Varosh. That's the word Achash Veirosh. This taich of Varosh is bitterness. There's another taich, V'gam Pirush Varosh. Another piece is Loshin Anius. Rosh is like from the language of poor. Or V'lorosh, as the pasuk says, V'lorosh ein koil b'shmul beis, simen yud beis. V'hainu b'chinas hadalis, the lesle megar moklum. That is the level of Dalit. Dalit means poor. Dalus, poor. The level of Dalus, which is also the level of Malchus, because Malchus is Makabul, doesn't have its own. It comes from all the upper levels. That's the level of Dalus. But it goes, as they say, both together, because it doesn't have, that's why there is the Meridus, and that's why we have the Achash, as we said. But it brings down now, Ubepartis, part of the Shara Oisios, Ushar Chavzayit Perigimel, Be'inyan, Reish, Meloshin. So he says over there, Reish comes from the language Reish Ve'osher Altitanli. So also it says there, don't give me, the pasuk says, not poor and not wealth. Reish, so Reish is poor. So he said before, it's a Dalit. And here he says it's a Reish. Now, a Dalit and a Reish look very similar to each other. What's the difference between a Dalit and a Reish? A Dalit has in the back, has a little piece. A Reish doesn't have the piece in the back. So the Reish is even a greater level in not having. A Dalit is poor, but a Reish is even poorer than a Dalit. It's even more than a Dalit. In Echilu Godel, there is a big difference between Dalit L'Reish, between a Dalit and a Reish. Ima Yois, notwithstanding the fact Sheremes Shtei Ha'Oisius Ba El Hadalis V'Hoini, they both point to poorness and destitute. The Dalit has a point. And that oiketz, that point, that back, or that stem, it has a stem. That stem is Remez El Hayisoid, Kidepidush Bepedig Zayin. As which means that it has that's what all the parties. It says in the in Perikzayim, it doesn't have a stem at all. That points to even a greater level of destitute. It doesn't even have the yisoid. So the Dalet with the oiketz means that at least it has one sphira from above it. So it has the Yisoid Malchus. So the Yisoid is with Malchus. That's the point when you have the oikis. But if you have a reish, that means you have nothing. You can say shal derech zeh hu bashe bekorban oile v'yered. When we talk about the korban that goes up and down in price, what you have to bring, nemar boy ba'ashirus, there is with wealth, what you bring when you're wealthy, and then there's ubedalus, talks about when you're poor. So over there you can bring a bird, and then it talks about ubedalus. It talks when you're very poor, then you can bring just flour, the Parshat Vayikra. And you have these three levels. So you have the level of wealth when it goes up to the higher level. Then you have the level when it has at least the level of Yisoid that has the Dalet, it has that stem. And then when you have when it's a reish, when there's nothing. Ki oilev yered b'chinas malchus. Oilev yered, that's level of malchus. Sheyesh bo aliyas v'yeridas. It has ups and downs. B'chinas dalus zehu kshehu b'chinas dalet. That's when it's a dalus. B'chinas dalus, the level of dalus, then it's a reish. That's a bechina. That's the level of lerosh and koil that has nothing. V'ayin bezoyer pashas chukas av kupei omid beis reish v'dalet chad milahu that reish dalet is one. No matter. Okay, so in any event, what he's saying over here that there's two levels, but we're talking about two taichin in the word of rosh. One, the level of rosh bitter, and one level of rosh very poor that has nothing. Ushnei apirushim, he says, inyan echadu, and they're really one aspect. There's one idea. Shebeshibud hagolus misbarerin umetzarfim v'dinim hakoshim umorim kiresh. Because in the slavery of the exile, they are sorted out and they are mitzaref in the difficult judgment and the bitter like Rosh. Because what happens is when you're in slavery and you're in the Golus, there is these difficulties, and that's the way things get sorted out. They get cleaned out. Like the Golus Mitzrayim, which is called a kiln of metal, and that through this, going through this process, so therefore, they empty out from all the good of above on their own. So they in Golus Mitzrayim they only get not from directly from the good of above. Everything has to come through their officer. They're in the Golus Mitzrayim, meaning they don't get directly from the Tuva Elyon directly, but they only get through the Sar. They get through Mitzrayim because they're in Golus, they're under Mitzrayim. This is just the opposite than it was the Beis Hamikdash. Over there, we would give the 70 Porim to give also to the Evdei Gelulim Shafa. So that means that we have the dinim koshim. It's very difficult. It's bitter. There's nothing there. We don't get directly from the Eibishter. But we'll see. Amram hine kasiv. The pasuk says, "Chasida beroshim beisam." Tilim perikov dal pasuk zayin. And the Zohar explains in Vayetze Davkuf Samach Gimel Omad Aleph. Al tikra beroshim. Don't call it beroshim. Ela beroshim, the head. The ho alma achra betatoin beisam. So this world becomes Beisa. That becomes the house. Mefarish Chasido Albina Shchinto Ilo. There he explains it that the Chasido is the Shchino Ilo becomes the Beisa. V'ayin mizeh gamkim melishra b'truma perich lamed hey. Basically, the pasuk seems to say that it becomes the Chasidah, the Beroshi becomes her home. But it's going to say that the Malchus, the home for Malchus, for Hashem, becomes through the Golus that we experience. It becomes the Beisa, that becomes the place for the Shekhinah. Meaning that through the struggles, then it goes up to the higher level. Let's see. We can also explain it on the level of Malchus. Parshas Pinchas, Dafresh Yud Zayin, Amud Beis. V'hainu shal yidei yiridos lemato. B'mchinas Rosh Kinal, by descending below into the level of Rosh. As I mentioned earlier, al yidei zeh achar kach aliyah lemailo liyas b'rosh beisa. Then it goes up above that it should be in the top beisa. V'hainu k'mayim razal. This is like the saying of our sages that Yisrael kshehem yordim ad lamata. When they descend very low. But when they go up, oilin ad lamaylo, they go up all the way to the top. Kibilti memutza klal. In other words, there is no middle, without any intermediary at all. If you should bechinas malchus, who bechinas nekuda. Malchus is a nekuda, but ulepamim he can nekuda schirik. Sometimes it's like a chirik, which is on the bottom, a small dot in the bottom. Ulepamim b'cholim. Sometimes it's a cholim on the top. It's a dot. A dot is either on the bottom or on the top. It's not in the middle. Akabesis. But not in the middle. V'hainu kumeshakosu the Sefer Yitzira denotes chilosam b'seifam dafke. That the end, the beginning is stuck into the end. Therefore, when they go up, they go always to the top. So likewise, the level of Chasida. She bechinas Knesset Yisrael. Chasida is Knesset Yisrael, presenting the Jewish gathering of the Jewish people. Shenikra kala no b'chasuda. Why is it Chasida? Because we're called a beautiful and Chasuda kala. So what happens is Chasida is Beroshim Beis. Beroshim, the house for the Chasida. The house for the Knesset Yisrael is Beroshim, and the top is B'bchinas Ha'ilui Hayoser L'maylo. That is in the very highest level. The Berosh K'moi HaBerosh. This will be like the Berosh. The Berosh is Shehu HaGavoya Barozim. The Berosh is a cedar tree. And in the trees itself, that grows the highest, the Berosh. Kiyudua, the Esther Minya Arozimhe. There are 10 types of cedars. Berosh, Vitidar, Chulu, and this is the highest. So you come from the level of Varosh to the level of Berosh. From the level of Rosh and Por, which has nothing. And this is the reason for why they're going up. Ad lemailo liyosh b'roshim beisam to be up to Rosh base is because it descends. V'hainu gam kein pirush achash verish bivov ulupamim achash roish beloivov. So the I guess sometimes it's on the level of when it's poor, sometimes it goes up beloivov. But dai lemevin. Hine ba'achar shegolsu shchina imam le'elum kinal b'pirush achash. Since the shchina is with them, as we say in the word achash goes down, hare yordu kol hamadregis protim hashayachim l'shchina. So all these specific individual levels that are connected to the shchina, to the level of malchus, went along with it. Kibchinas malchus klula mahakoil, because malchus includes of everything. So therefore, all the shines of above that came to malchus came down. So you have paras umodai. The hainu paras umodai is oires makifim, but oires pnimim that has descended. Behain shoyrish inyan Torah mitzvahs, which is the root of Torah and mitzvahs, because Torah is pnimim, because that's like a food that goes inside. Mitzvahs are makif; they surround you like levushim. The hine yodua, it's known Torah b'chinas mozen lenefesh. Torah is called the food for the soul. Share nikra lechem, because we call it bread. K'bashikosuv, Paul says l'chu lachmu b'lachmi chulu. So that's lachmi. My bread is referencing to Torah. Torah is considered to be like bread, and bread you eat, you consume, you internalize it, you bring it inside. There's another passage that says, that is the level of the erpnimi that divides into parts to feed all the limbs, everyone according to its relative to its value, everything gets its. V'hainu pirush pras, and this is the meaning of pras. We say poras, level of pras, a piece, is meloshin prusa. That means like a piece. Shu inyan is chalkus, like you break off a piece, chalkus, to separate. Kimoy, as we say in the pasuk, prois larov lachmecha, break up for the hungry a piece of your bread. That's why a bread is called a piece. Like we say, lo yifres odem prusa. A person should not break a piece. We talk about the lechem, the bread. And also, v'chein nikra pas. We also call it pas. Pas comes from loshu kimoi, make it into pieces. Posis oiso pitim was also the level of pieces. Kulu ki efsher sheyiyah halachem. You can't have bread to feed you unless it divides into small pieces and many pieces. That's how it can feed you. Likewise, it's called a spiritual food. It's also in the level of prusa, dividing the hainu. And level of an erpnimi without. So that's the level of Torah. So Torah is the level of Poras. Mitzvahs is Modai. A person wears his garment at once, and not many parts. That surrounds him all as one. As it's known, that the makif rests on the garment. This is the root of the mitzvah. They become the garments for the soul in Gan Eden, as it's known. This is the level of modai. That is the language of levush. Like the pasuk says, "V'lovash hakoyin midoy bad." His measure of bad, that's the garment. Or vayilbash shol es madov. He wore his uniform, his madov. Shmulav zunotches. V'zehu gamkin inyan hasipur. The Maisa Zayin Hanaoris Haruyas Loslam Beis HaMelech. It's the story that we say about the 7 maidens that are fit to give to Esther from the house of the king. She'em Bechinas Zayin Heicholos the Nukva. Those are the 7 rooms of Nukva, of Malchus. Behind Bechinas, by the Pirush Haruyas Losses. That means they are fit to give to her. Parshas Pekudei, as it says in the Parshas Pekudei, after Samach of it base, the Parshas Mikei Davkuf Tzadik Dalad Nomad Al Posik, V'hine min ha'yoir oile sheva poros u'feish mara chulu u've Parshas Pinchas Dafresh Nun Aleph Seif Amad Aleph. And further we have Zayin HaSarisim. So that's the 7 Oris. And Zayin HaSarisim Hameshorsim es Pnei HaMelech, the 7 Sarisim. Heim Bechinas Zayin Eicholos the Duchra. Those are the 7 male rooms. V'ayim b'mezeh b'me'oire is Zayin Siman Lamed Aleph. V'hainu ki ma'achar sheshchina imohem, because they have the Shechina, yesh hakoil. You have everything. Gam Zayin Na'oris. You have everything. The 7 male and the 7 Na'oris as well. Kipirish Esther Meloshin Astir. Esther comes from Loshin of Haid Kimeshe Kosuf. Astir Ponai Bayemahu. Buhu Bechinas Islapshus Ashchina Bechinas Esther Ponim. That's the level of the Shechina, the hidden of the Shechina in the way of Esther Ponim. And that's the way it comes down into the Malchus, into the Rifnei Cholos, and everything but the Shechina is there with them. Okay, we'll leave it over here.